You're watching Shalom TV, celebrating Jewish culture. Funding for Shalom TV has been provided by the following. And by viewers like you.
Into today's challenges, it's good to look back and to remind ourselves the roots, the nature of our victory, and what really helped us to go through this. I was one of many, practically millions of absolutely assimilated Soviet Jews. And when we say assimilated, I don't mean assimilated in terms of American Jews who say that, well, if somebody after bar mitzvah didn't go back to the community, then he really is assimilated Jew. We had no bar mitzvah, we had no brit milah, we had no Pesach, we had no Purim. We didn't know that such words exist. At the same time, we knew very well that we are Jews because there is anti-Semitism. There is constant conversation at home about what is, where you can go, to what university, to what place of work, what kind of career you can hope to do and what you cannot. So Jew meant only one thing, restrictions, discrimination. It was negative words, so no big surprise that so many Jewish parents wanted and tried to replace in the identity cards of their children, instead of the word Jew, to put some other word, Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh, Georgian, Armenian, doesn't matter what, only not Jew, because there is no positive meaning to this word, only negative. At the same time, of course, we knew that we live under dictatorship and that we are supposed to say things which are permitted to say, and to do what we are told to do. I remember the day when I became loyal Soviet citizen. I was 5 years old. It was the day when Stalin died. I came home from kindergarten, and my father explained me how good it is that Stalin died, because he killed many people, that we Jews had big problems with him, but it is very good that he died, and I should remember all my life that miracle happened, Stalin died, and it makes our life easier. But he added, don't tell it to anybody, do what everybody does. And next day I went to the kindergarten, I was crying together with all the children about the death of Stalin. I was singing songs about how grateful we are to Stalin for our happy childhood. And I remembered that I should really be very happy that Stalin died, that miracle happened. So that is a typical state of mind of a loyal Soviet citizen who knows that there is one truth which you have to keep for your family and for close friends, and the other reality in which you live and where you vote, where you say, where you read what you're told to do. So on one hand, we had no identity, we were absolutely assimilated from our Jewishness. On the other hand, we had no freedom. And to think for a moment that you can fight for your freedom, of course we didn't think about it, because the only value in your life is survival. And you learn from your parents that in order to survive, because you're a Jew, you must be the best in physics or in mathematics or in chess or in music. It almost doesn't matter in what. But you must be the best in your profession, and maybe that will help you somehow to escape into the ivory tower of science and arts and something. When all this changed in our life, In my life, it definitely changed after 1967, when Israel defeated Arab armies which wanted to destroy it, and by this humiliated greatly the Soviet Union, because Soviet Union sent a lot of money and a lot of weapons and a lot of so-called advisors, but officers, to fight and to destroy Israel. And they almost started already celebration in Soviet Union of this historical victory of progressive democratic countries over the agent of American imperialism, Zionist Israel, and here's such a humiliation to Soviet Union. And with this, in the depth of this new campaign against Israel and Jews, suddenly you realize that whether you want or not, but for people around you, official and non-official, those who hate you and those who love you, for all these people, you are connected to Israel. And then you try to understand what this connection means, because you know practically nothing about that country. And that's when we started, in fact, in the underground, to read and to learn about the state of Israel. And suddenly you discover that there is such a great history which starts from Exodus from Egypt, and which continues to these days to Exodus of Leon Uris. That if you read today Leon Uris, you can think, oh, Bobby Mises. But then it was very powerful, Bobby Mises, because it connected us immediately to this struggle from ancient Egypt, and it was so easy to feel yourself like you are in ancient Egypt under Pharaoh, to the modern days, when Jews of almost of your age, may be a little bit older, but how they were fighting for their country and for their people. And you understand that there is a great history that you can easily be part of it. Or to make a switch in your mind, stop thinking about yourself as part of this system, think about yourself as one in this great Jewish history, and you're one of them. And in addition to this, we have great people, Jews all over the world, who are, whom you don't know, they don't know you, but they feel that you are their family. And they tell you that we are with you. And of course, you have your country, the state of Israel. So that's how we discovered history, community, and the country, our identity. And that suddenly gives you a lot of strength to fight for your rights, then for rights of the other Jews, and then for rights of my non-Jews. And I was, with the time, I was spokesman of two movements at the same time, Soviet Jewry movement and human rights movement. And though there were many people who were saying that you have to choose, you cannot be both. Or you are for universal values, or you're for national values. I never felt that I have to choose. It was so clear to me that there is deep connection, that I would never get the strength to fight for universal values if I didn't discover that I have roots, that I have history, that I have people, and that I have country behind me. Now, with all this struggle, of course, we could never survive even one day if it didn't become immediately the struggle of all the Jews of the world. Now, we should not forget, it was the biggest dictatorship in the world, which controlled almost 1/3 of the world. It was the regime which killed tens of millions of its own citizens in order to keep everybody under the control of fear. And in this regime, when few dozen and then few hundred Jews get up and say, we don't want to live in this country, we want to live for Israel, well, how it is that this regime would not kill them immediately? It happened because from the very first day, in fact, even before we started our struggle, it already became the struggle of all the Jews of the world. We had our demonstration, not this demonstration. In those days in Moscow, successful demonstration was when 5, 6, maximum 10 Jews stand in the center of Moscow with the slogans, give us visas to Israel or free the prisoners of Zion, for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Why no more than 10 Jews? Because more Jews know in advance about demonstration, the bigger the chance that KGB will know about this demonstration. And then there will be no demonstration at all. Why only 3, 4, 5 minutes? Because even if KGB does know in advance about it, that is the maximum time which you can stand in the center of Moscow before you'll be arrested. And then you are arrested and you are given 10 days or 15 days. One of these demonstrations, my two friends got 5 years in Siberia. So the question is, what is the sense of having this demonstration of 5 minutes, 10 people, and then to go for 5 years in Siberia? What is the sense? And the reason is very simple. If it is organized well, and that was later one of my duties to organize this demonstration well, which means that KGB does know in advance. But at least one journalist knows, and it was not so simple because these journalists from foreign press lived in special ghettos, and there was no way to meet them without KGB being near you. And so you have to meet them publicly, but to say such words that they will understand that it is about demonstration and when will be demonstration and where, but KGB who stands near you and listens will not understand. So if all is done successfully, then really these 10 Jews will be arrested. But next day, when in the evening it will be broadcasted by Voice of America, the Radio Liberty, BBC, so on, and next day tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Jews all over the world will be demonstrating. They will be appealing to their senators and congressmen. They will be demanding from their governments to react. Their governments will call Soviet ambassadors, will be demanding from their explanation why it is that these few Jews who want to leave, why they are arrested. That American Congress will pass special laws linking the fate of Jewish immigration with the most important issues for Soviet Union, in the economy, in politics, in the other spheres. That's how the campaign was built, and was built very quickly. In fact, we were a small group of Jews in the Soviet Union fighting for our rights, and it already became a huge world campaign of Jews from all over the world. And later, when I was arrested during interrogations, KGB was telling me, my interrogators were telling me, what you're building your hopes on? Look who they are supporting you. They're only a bunch of students and housewives. And we are KGB. So they were right. After all, it were students and housewives. But they were Jewish students and housewives. And also Jewish doctors and Jewish professors and Jewish scientists and Jewish lawyers all together, and they were in this struggle not one day, not 1 year, but 15 years of this struggle. And now when thousands and thousands of Jews were coming to Israel, to the former Soviet Union as tourists, were bringing us information, were bringing us books, were bringing us different religious things. They were bringing us Magen Davids and many other things. And they were trembling from fear bringing all this. And then when they were taking our documents, our letters, our appeals to American Congress, to the world with the information about what's happening in prisons, they were trembling even more from fear while taking out. And that was how they were doing it. And I was asking them many times, why are you doing it? After all, you have successful life in America, in Canada, in other places. Why are you doing it? And it's interesting, the answer always was that like we discovered our identity, they discovered their identity. They discovered that they are part of much bigger, much more exciting, much more interesting story of being one people. And that's what was as what they were saying, that now we discovered real meaning of our life. So that's very interesting, that with all the differences of our experience of absolute assimilated Soviet Jews and their experience of living in their communities, in America and other Jewish communities, we both, on both sides, we discovered that we are part of much bigger, much more interesting, much more exciting story, which has roots, history, which has peoplehood, and we have our state, the state of Israel. Now, going many years after this, now I'm the head of Jewish agency. And what is our challenge today? Jewish Agency was an organization created by Ben-Gurion in 1929 when he understood that it is not enough to have enthusiasm and energy of a small group of Jews who call themselves Zionists, who want to live in Israel, in Palestine, and to build the state. We really need the support of all the Jews of the world, and that's why Jewish Agency was created, like a uniting force of the efforts of Jewish people to build the future state. And until 1948, it was, in fact, the government of Jewish people, which was running the future country. After 1948, when Ben-Gurion moved to the government, the Jewish Agency became simply a quasi-government organization responsible for relations between Israel and Jews of diaspora. Yeah, thank you. So, after this, 3 million Jews were brought from all over the world to Israel, from Europe after Holocaust, from Arab countries, from the former Soviet Union, 1 million Jews came. From, now we are just now finishing to bring Jews from Ethiopia. So more than 3 million Jews. In addition, billions of dollars were raised to build Israel. But the situation changed. Situation changed. Of course, we have to continue saving Jews whenever they need to be saved, whether it is Iran, whether it is Venezuela, whether it is just now 100 Jews came from Tunis, whether it is Kyrgyzstan, whether it is Turkey maybe. But overwhelmingly 94% of Jews of diaspora live in the free world. So there's a challenge for Jews in the free world. If we want that there will be a Kaliyah, if you simply want that they will be living as Jews in their places. It is strengthening of Jewish identity. If we want now to resist to demonization of the state of Israel, we look who are our defenders on American campuses, and I spent time on 70 different campuses. It's those who feel themselves proud Jews connected to their people, to their tradition, and to their country. So practically every specific problem which we can say that the heart of the problem is weak Jewish identity, and we need to strengthen it. And then it is discovered that the best way to strengthen Jewish identity is to have Israeli experience. Birthright is a program which was created by American Jews, for American Jews, and which in fact means that if you want to strengthen Jewish identity of young generation, you have to give them opportunity to go for free trip to Israel. I remember when this idea was born and was brought by two American Jews, Charles Bronfman and Michael Steinhardt, in 1998 to Israel. It seemed like a crazy idea of two strange Jews who say that all what we have to do is to guarantee free trip to these young Jewish kids to Israel for 10 days, and we want the Israeli government to give us money for this. And I remember there was a debate in the Israeli government in 1998 that some ministers, very powerful ministers, were saying, what, we will take money of Israelis, those who are fighting all these wars, who are serving every year in the army, who are paying 50% of them with taxes, and now they have to give money to these rich American Jews to bring for free trip their children? It's against the laws of nature. They have to give us money. Yeah? So I'm very proud by the fact that in this first government of Bibi Netanyahu, I was Minister of Industry and Trade, but I also, as practically in every other government, I was responsible for relations with diaspora, because to get a position of minister, you have to fight. But to get a bonus be responsible for relations with diaspora. Nobody's interested. There is no budget. There are no appointments. You want, you take it. So I always took it. And I brought Steinhardt and Charles Bronfman, and we convinced Bibi, and it was really a historical decision that Israel government for the first time decided to put money, to put Israeli taxpayers' money into American Jewry. And today, not only American, but mainly it was American Jewry. And 1/3 of the birthrights was then and now almost in the same proportion as of Israel government. No doubt that today, after 12 years, more than 300,000 young kids visited Israel. It's clear that it's a big success, that it changed a lot the patterns of behavior of the whole generation. But the interesting question is, after all, why it has such an influence? Why all the statistics, which is very powerful statistics, which shows how different becomes the behavior of the people 5 and 10 years after this birthright leap. Why it happens? After all, what is so important in this? Is usually those who are coming on these trips are people with very weak connection before, because the condition is that only those who never were in Israel. So usually it's people whose last connection with their Jewishness was during their bar mitzvah. They were in Sunday school, they passed bar mitzvah, they paid their taxes to their grandparents, now they can have normal life. And they have this normal life, and then they come at the university, they want to go to Hawaii or to Paris, but they have no money. And here is free trip to Israel. Okay, this year we'll go suffer a little bit, and maybe next year we'll be more lucky. That's more or less, and believe me, I met with thousands. And for many of them, that's exactly the situation. So the question is, what happens? After all, what we don't have any special programs of moderate pressure on these young Jews to brainwash them. What happens to them? 10 days of hiking in Israel. I believe that what happens to them, and I saw so many of them and spoke to so many of them, it's exactly what happened to us in 1967, or to American Jews who are coming to us. They discover that they are part of much more interesting story than they thought. That, first of all, they belong to the people with roots. And in Israel, it's so easy to feel thousands of years of history. Well, of course, we make special trips for them to Jerusalem tunnels under the quarter, to Ir David and others, but you don't need to make a big effort to feel your history of thousands of years. And second, they feel that here Jews from all over the world are coming and building extremely exciting, interesting society with unbelievable openness, with very dynamic, something that it is interesting and that you can be proud of. You have no reason to be ashamed, to try to escape, to try to undermine it. In fact, to the contrary, you have something what the other students on the campus don't have. So that is discovery of your identity. Of course, then it's what you're doing with this. And it's also not so simple. But for the first push, in order, your curiosity, your interest, your self-respect will start working, that's enough. And that's why in Jewish agency, when a year and a half ago I came to become the chairman, I said, it is very important to continue saving Jews whenever they need to be saved. It's very important to continue building our state, but in the center of all our challenges must be the strengthening of Jewish identity and to have as much of encounter with the state of Israel or the Jews of diaspora as possible. That's why our next big program became Masa, what means journey. It's bringing Jews, young students from all over the world already, not for 10 days, but for 1 semester or for 1 year, from 6 months to 10 months. This year we brought 11,000 young Jews from all over the world, but mainly from the United States. About 8,000 of them are from the United States. to different programs, more than 160 different programs in science, in foreign policy, in sports, in cooking, in dancing, practically in all fields of human life. Practically for every student who wants, you can have their own individual program. But of course, in addition to this, a lot of Jewish, Zionist, Israeli experience. And that's the a program which not only permits us to encourage many young Jews to feel themselves closer to Jewish life, and at the same time to make another step in their professional skills, but also permits us to be proactive, to build the network of Jewish activists globally, all over the world. We go to Novosibirsk, in the center of Siberia. We see the Jewish community where we don't have enough activists. We come to one Jew and say, you have a potential of being Jewish leader. Don't you want to come for 1 year of studies in Israel? He says, I want, but I want to be chef. Okay, we propose him the special program in culinary. We are good in everything. So we built special for him this program, and now he's our activist in Novosibirsk. And practically in every place of the world we can do it. But and now, by the way, we are developing new program, because we discovered that the gap between 10 days and 1 year is still very big. There are many Jews who are not ready to go for 1 year. They don't want gap year. They don't want to lose even 1 year of studies in their beloved university in New Jersey. But they are already interested to come for 2 months as interns and to train, whether in our government offices, whether in our lawyers' firms, whether in our high-tech firms. And that's the project which we are now developing. At this moment as a pilot, we have 300-400 kids, but I'm sure that in the years to come we'll have tens and tens of thousands of young Jews every year coming for 2-3 months for internship. So all types of Israeli experiences are really helping to strengthen this identity. What's interesting is that the opposite is also true. We want to strengthen Jewish identity of Israelis. And many Israelis don't understand what it really means. We speak Hebrew, we serve in the army, you cannot be more Jewish than this. Our shlichim, and we have 2 shlichim in your community, and we have hundreds of shlichim all over the world. Those who spend in a few months in Jewish communities of the world, you don't have to explain them what is Jewish identity. As one of our shinshinim, it's Shnat Shirut, is young boys and girls who immediately after school postponed for 1 year service in the army in order to be involved in to contribute to the society. And some of them go to work in the communities abroad. By the way, you in New Jersey have here 2 of our shinshinim. But you have 3? 3, no? So you're good. Yeah, here's one. Okay. Okay. Where are you from? From Ra'anana. Okay. What school? What school? Huh? Okay, that's good school. But I have to say, well, so it's not about you, but I recently spoke with one girl who is Shinshin in Toronto, and also in one very good school in Toronto. We have now, there is like 7 or 8 Shinshinim. And the director of the school was explaining how good it is for schools that there are these Israelis who came, who teach, who they feel like presence of Israel. But this girl from Tel Aviv, from good non-religious school in Tel Aviv, told me that in these few months of her life, she got more Judaism than in all her life before. And only now she starts understanding what it is to be Jew by choice. I have to say, so that's not accidental, because after all, you can be very good Israeli and be absolutely out of touch from what is called Jewish community. And I'm sure that Shinshinim who were here, or in Toronto, or in Lvov, or in many other places, even after a few months they already feel themselves much more, not only proud Israelis, but proud Jews. So this meeting between Jews of diaspora and Jews of Israel is beneficial for both. But before we mentioned campuses, when I came to Jewish Agency, I said that years ago, in fact in 2004 already, I discovered, on the request of Ariel Sharon, I was combating the struggle against global anti-Semitism, and I came to Ariel Sharon and said, the most important battlefield which we have now is in American universities, the campuses, which then sounded for many years like something very strange. And I said, and I even then wrote an article in Marie which was called Traveling to Occupied Territories. And occupied territories were American campuses. Because I said that we like gave it away to our enemies. And when I came to Jewish Agency, I said, we really have to work very hard on the campuses. So some of the leaders of Jewish Agency said, we're sorry, it's not our mandate. We are not involved in politics. We are above politics. We are about connection between Jewish people and Israel. I said, you really, if you think that the debate on the campuses is who is better, Barak or Sharon or Olmert or Bibi, then you really don't understand what you're talking about. Debate is there why Israel should exist as a state. Who needs this state, Jewish democratic state, is something against the laws of nature. And as a result, we have so many young Jews, and I spoke to many of them, who say that for us as Jews, it's better to live in the world where Israel doesn't exist. Then we don't have to be responsible for this awful thing that we hear every day. So our enemies succeed to disconnect young generation of Jews from Israel. That is our mandate of Jewish Agency, to connect Jews with Israel. And that's how we launched the program Israeli Fellows on Campuses. And 2 years ago we were on 17 campuses, last year we were on 40. This year we raised enough money to go on 50 campuses. That's our program together with Hillel, when young Israelis, after their army and after their first degree, and we train them how to debate, they go for, we want for 2 years, some of them go for 1 year, some for 2 years, to the universities. And their task is to bring as much of Israel as possible to this university, as many Jewish students as possible to Israel, and to create a network of Jews who are not afraid to speak and to defend our cause. And my experience is that the moment there is even few Jews who are not even afraid, who know how to debate, who know the facts, and who are ready to defend Israel, the atmosphere can be changed very quickly, because after all, the real arguments are on our side. So these are, I mentioned only 2 of many programs of Jewish Agency in connecting Jews of the world with the state of Israel. And of course, in these challenges, and by the way, Israeli government is becoming more and more our major partner in this. We mentioned birthrights. In Massa, which I mentioned, Israeli government is paying 50% of the program. And now we are bringing 11,000, we can bring 20,000. The Israeli government is ready to pay for 20,000. But for this, we have to raise more money. So for every dollar which we will raise, the Israeli government is giving their dollar. So these programs can exist only because it is a mutual effort of the Jews of the world. And I have to tell you frankly, we, Jewish Agency, don't have better partner than Jewish federations in the United States of America. Not all 160 Jewish federations, but let's say among 10 most friendly Jewish federations which strongly support our projects is your federation too. And that's why I'm very glad for this opportunity to come here, to speak to you, to thank your federation, to thank your activists, and to thank all of us that Jewish solidarity is such a powerful thing which destroyed Soviet Empire, which opened Iron Curtain, which moved millions of Jews to the free world, and which is now working to guarantee the future of Jewish people. Thank you.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who can send a tax-deductible contribution of $36 or more to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media to help support our programming. Tax-deductible checks may be made out to GEM and mailed to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. Please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD, and we thank you for your kind support.